because I wasn't attending enough lectures. And so, you know, years later, when they offered me like a fellowship, I said, do you realise you kicked me out here? And they said, well, basically, you're in good company. We've done the same with Mary Quant. So, you know, I felt very fortunate there. And I think, yeah, that, getting the MBE, I mean, I felt it was very much not about me, but also showing the kind of, massive appeal of the music I love and lots of young people. So those were highs. Of course, there'd be many lows. And I think, if I was to think of some examples, I mean, I remember getting our first big major sponsorship deal. I managed to, convince the chairman of World Online at the time to sponsor 3 of our main events and managed, sign £3 million deals. So I was very chuffed. So our first event went very well. The second year, 2 weeks before the Dancer Award, in which this was one of the events they were sponsoring, we couldn't get hold of them, and our accountant was ringing the finance department, and what's happening, no one was replying. And so I had to call up the chairman. I said, look, obviously we've got an event on in 2 weeks' time. And they said, well, we've got bad news, we're not going to be paying you, and it's nothing you've done wrong. We've been bought by another company, and basically our strategy is we're no longer staying in music. So that was like a, wow, huge kind of, learning curve for me in recognising that in business you have to have contingencies. There needs to be other plans. And so I said, well, when you're putting on events, you take on a lot of people, and of course you're committed to, paying them. So by hook or by crook, I was going to put on this event, and so I managed to kind of negotiate a deal with them. Of course, I was saying to them, we're going to take you to court, but recognising I didn't have the money to do that. So in the end, we negotiated a deal, and the company was called Tiscali, by the way. So that was one of the low points. There have been other low points, but I think, in starting off, I didn't have, many good advisors I could call upon. I didn't know any good accountants or lawyers, and I think they're very important in business and starting out. But of course, you get those great networks in time, great contacts.
Great. And so just to close, tell me, what's your vision with the MOBOs now, because it's already been phenomenally successful. We've already talked about how many millions of people watch it and how broadly it's shown across the world. What's your vision with it now? What are you wanting to do in the coming years?
Well, I suppose we've spent the last 12 years really building a strong brand policy, and ultimately this is to facilitate kind of expansion into other business-related areas. I mean, we already fly artists all over the world. We do concerts all over Africa. We also have extended into kind of clothing range. It's very limited range in just T-shirts and caps. And this is just bought through our, website, and we have phenomenal sales already. So I suppose our plan is to kind of implement other MOBO initiatives, and that is, more live events around the world. We have, our website. We get millions and millions of, hits each month, and it's a great way of us getting feedback. And of course, we're going to expand into the whole digital arena so that we can have an interactive social networking site throughout the year. And we've got many ideas, but of course the key is to focus. We have a 5-year plan, and of course there will always be other opportunities that arise when you are, following through your plan that we, will of course take into consideration. But of course we also want to be around for another 12 years.
Excellent. And we will be watching to see, ladies and gentlemen, Kanya King.
Thank you.
And keep your applause going for our whole panel. So without further ado, this is the bit of the evening where you get your chance to get up close and personal.